Welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to make this new beach hat or sun hat. I call it the Strata sun hat, and I call it that because it's made out of this yarn. It's called Red Heart Strata and it's a bulky number 5. It's made out of acrylic and nylon, and it's a great yarn, but it's very difficult to find. And so you can use any number 5 yarn for this project. Now this hat will fit a youth to an adult about 19 to 20 inches. Now this is a free crochet pattern, and you can find it on my blog in the notes underneath this video. So let's talk yarn just a little bit. Now I said that the Strata is a bulky number 5, and you can use any bulky number 5 for this project. You can also use 2 strands of cotton held together or 2 strands of worsted weight number 4 held together. It works up quickly because we're using the bulky number 5 and is a fun and easy hat to make. We're also going to be stitching with an L hook, and an L hook is an 8mm crochet hook. You're going to need a needle with a nice big eye so you can weave in those ends, and of course you'll need a pair of scissors. Now the striping on this hat is random, and I just striped it however I had left of my Strata yarn. And for today's video we're going to be doing some striping, but we're going to be using this purple and cream color. Now this is yarn that I purchased from Michael's. It's called the Charisma, and it works really great because even though it's a chunky, it's also a lightweight yarn, and you can find that at Michael's. And I believe Hobby Lobby has a really nice, I love this chunky, that's the same way. It's a light but yet chunky yarn. I'm going to start with my purple. We'll be starting at the top of the hat and working our way down. I'm going to make my slip knot. And then I'm going to chain 5. We're going to join this chain 5 into a circle, put the tail over and pull it through the loop, snug it down, and then we'll make that little stay knot. Alrighty, so now we're going to put our hook through the chain 5, pull up a loop, and chain 3. This first chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. And what we're going to do is stitch 9 more double crochets in this chain 5 loop. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. Alright, so that gives us our second double crochet because our chain 3 counted as our first. So I need 8 more. And you'll notice that I'm stitching over that tail of yarn. And I'm doing that so that I can close that hole at the top of my hat when I'm finished. And I do keep just giving it just a little gentle pull so I can keep it out there. All right, let's see how many that I've done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so there's my 10. I'm going to join to the top of my chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. Now I'll turn this over and I'll just give that tail of yarn just a gentle pull, and it'll close that hole at the top of my hat, and I can weave that in later. Now before we do the next row, I want to talk to you a little bit about size. Now you can't really adjust the size without working out all the stitches, but something that you can do, because this hat is intended to be big and a little floppy, you can go down a hook size or two if you are known to be a loose stitcher. If you're a tight stitcher, it'll probably fit just fine, but you can gently adjust the sizes just a little bit by going up or down on your hook size. All right, now for row 2, we're going to place 1 double crochet in that next stitch, and then we're going to place 2 double crochets in each of the 9 stitches so that we go from 10 double crochet to 20. Now we placed a double crochet right in that first stitch because our chain 3 counted as our first double crochet, and then we're stitching 2 double crochets in each stitch around. And this will give us a total of 20 double crochets. And this also helps the top of the hat to be just a little bit flat. So we're stitching 2 double crochets in each of the 10 double crochets around, and then we'll join to the top of that first chain 3 and chain 3. All right, let's count and make sure that we have our 20 stitches. Here's our chain 3 and our first double crochet, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. We went from 10 double crochets on the first row to 20 on the second. We're going to join to the top of our chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3, and then we're going to chain 1 more, because on row 3 we're doing it just a little bit different. So our chain 4 is going to count as a double crochet and a chain 1, and what we're going to be doing is in each stitch we're going to stitch a double crochet, chain 1 around. All right, so we'll go to our next stitch. We'll stitch a double crochet, chain 1. The next stitch, double crochet, chain 1. Next stitch, double crochet, chain 1. And that's going to give that openness at the top of our hat. And we'll do this all the way around this row. 1 double crochet, chain 1 in each of the 20 double crochets. And again, we'll do this all the way around and join to the top of our chain 3. You should have 20 double crochet chain 1s all the way around. We ended with a chain 1. We're going to join to the top of the chain 3. Don't go in the chain 4, go in the chain 3, because remember, it counted as a double crochet chain 1. So now for row 4, we're going to go in that first chain 1 space and pull up a loop and chain 3. And then we're going to place a double crochet right in that chain 1 space. All right. Now, for the rest of this row, all we're going to do is put 2 double crochets in each of the chain 1 spaces. So I'll go right to the next chain 1 space and stitch 2 double crochets. Now I'll go to the next chain 1 space and stitch 2 double crochets. And that's how row 4 works. 1 and 2. To the next chain 1 space and 2 double crochets. And you'll probably start to notice that your hat is starting to curl in a little bit, and that's what we want it to do. It's starting to make the shape of the top of the hat. Okay, so for row 4, all we're doing is placing 2 double crochets in each of the chain 1 spaces. And if you don't know what a chain 1 space is, it's just the hole that's left when we make a chain 1. And that's the way that row 4 will work. We'll put 2 double crochets in each of the chain 1 spaces, working all the way around, and then we'll join to the top of the chain 3. So this is how we should look so far. All right. At the end of row 4, we're going to join to the top of the chain 3 that counted as our first double crochet. Then we're going to slip stitch in the next double crochet and then slip stitch in the space between those 2 double crochets that we placed together and chain 3. And we're going to be stitching our groups of 2 double crochet, chain 1, in the space between each of the 2 double crochets. Now we didn't chain 1 in between. It's just the space that we're going to be working in. So we chain 3, which counts as our first double crochet. We'll go right in that space, stitch another double crochet, and chain 1. Now we'll go to the next space between the next 2 double crochets and stitch 2 double crochets, chain 1. And that's the way that row 5 will work. 2 double crochets between the 2 double crochets and chain 1. All right, so we're working between every 2, and it lines up, of course, with where we put the 2 in the chain 2 space. So you go to the next one and stitch 2 double crochets and chain 1. 2 double crochets and chain 1. And that's the way that row 5 works. We're stitching 2 double crochets between every 2 double crochets with a chain 1 in between. Chain 1, skip those next 2 double crochets and stitch 2 double crochets, chain 1 in between. All the way around, and again we'll join to the top of our chain 3. Now you should have 20 sets of 2 double crochet, chain 1 all the way around for row 5. We're going to join to the top of the chain 3. There we go. And we're going to change colors. Now, if you're going to use a 3rd or 4th color, you can cut your yarn. But since I'm going to be bringing my purple back in, Later, I'm going to go ahead and leave my purple yarn attached and just let it hang in the back. I'm going to bring my cream or white yarn in. There we go. And I'm going to chain 3. Now, it's always important to remember, when you're changing colors, make sure you do the chain 3 after the color change, because if you go ahead and do your color change with the purple, you'll have a double crochet in the wrong color, because our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. All right, so let's put a double crochet in the next double crochet. And then we're going to put a double crochet in the chain 1 space. And this is the way that this row is going to work. 1 double crochet in each of the 2 double crochets, and then a double crochet in the chain 1 space. And what we're doing now is we're going to be working down the sides of the top of the head. And so the way this row works is 1 double crochet in the chain 1 space, 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets. All the way around, 1 double crochet in those 2 double crochets, and then 1 double crochet in the chain 1 space, working all the way around this row. And you should see even more your hat curling up. This is my outside, so I'm going to push it out like that. But you're going to start to notice the shaping of your hat. Alrighty, so I'm going to finish this row around, stitching 1 double crochet in each of the 2 double crochets, and 1 double crochet in the chain 1 space all the way around for this row. So I completed this row of 1 double crochet in the 2 double crochets and then 1 double crochet in the chain 1 space all the way around. We're going to join to the top of our chain 3 and chain 3. And this next row is super duper easy. We're just going to place 1 double crochet in each of the stitches around. And this is going to just help us with the forming of the side of our hat. I'm going to move that over and work this way. All right, so we'll go right in that next double crochet and work 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around. Super easy. One double crochet in each double crochet, working around our hat, and then we'll come back around and join to the top of our chain 3. So I finished that row of just 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. We're going to join to the top of our chain 3. And at this point on this particular hat, I'm going to change colors again. I didn't change colors on the other one at this point, but I really want to bring out the difference in the next 3 rows of stitches from this one. All right, so we're going to chain 4. And this chain 4 counts as a double crochet chain 1. I'm going to leave my white yarn still attached because I'll be bringing that back in later. Alrighty, so we're going to skip the first double crochet and stitch a double crochet, chain 1 in the next stitch. And this is the way that this row will work. We'll skip the next double crochet and stitch a double crochet, chain 1 in the next stitch. And this gives us a nice open weave, and we'll be doing this for 3 rows. The first row, we're setting it up, double crochet, chain 1, skip the next, double crochet, chain 1, skip the next double crochet, and this is the way that this row will work all the way around our hat. Alright, so I need to chain 1, skip the next stitch, and double crochet, chain 1, skip the next stitch, double crochet, chain 1, all the way around this row. This is how our row should look. It's open and airy with our double crochet, chain 1s, and when we get to the end, we're going to join to the 3rd chain, not the 4th, because remember, this chain 4 counted as a double crochet, chain 1. So we're joining at the 3rd chain with a slip stitch, and then we're going to chain 4 again. And again, this chain 4 counts as a double crochet, chain 1. And the way the next 2 rows will work is we'll double crochet in the double crochet and chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and see how that looks? And we'll do this for 2 rows. We'll stitch this way all the way around. We'll join to the chain 3 and then repeat this row. Double crochet in the double crochet, chain 1, working all the way around this row and the next. So this is how those 3 open weave rows should look. Your double crochets are all lined up with your chain 1 spaces between. We're going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch, and I'm going to change colors again. So I'm going to bring my white back up, snug that down, and chain 3. Alrighty, so this next row we're going to be placing a double crochet in the double crochets, but we're also going to place a double crochet in the chain 1 spaces. And our chain 3 counted as our first double crochet, and then I double crocheted in the chain 1 space. Now I'm going to double crochet in the double crochet, and then double crochet in the chain 1 space. And what we're doing now is just setting it up so that we can add our brim on. Double crochet in the double crochet and double crochet in the chain 1 space. We do this all the way around this row and then join to the chain 3 at the beginning of the row. So 1 double crochet in the chain 1 space and 1 double crochet in the double crochets, working all the way around, and again joining to the top of our chain 3. So I finished that row of double crochet, stitching 1 double crochet in the double crochet and 1 double crochet in the chain 2 spaces between. We're going to join to the top of our chain 3. There we go, with a slip stitch and chain 3. And this row we're just going to repeat what we just did. 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. We'll stitch this all the way around, join to the top of that chain 3, and then we're going to change back to our purple yarn for the brim of our hat. I completed the row of 1 double crochet in each double crochet. We're going to join to the top of the chain 3. Get in there. All right, there's my slip stitch, and I'm going to change back to my purple yarn. So I'm going to bring that back in and snug that down and chain 3. Now don't pull too hard, because remember, we have those strings on the back, and that keeps us from having to weave those in later. All right, so we're going to place a double crochet right in this next double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. Then we're going to place 2 double crochets in this next one. There we go. And the way that this row is going to work is you'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2, and then 2 double crochets in the next. One, 2, and then 2 double crochets in the next. And this is going to cause the edge of our brim to flare out just a little bit so that we can have shade on our eyes while we're wearing our sun hat. So 1 double crochet in the next 2, and then 2 double crochets in the next. One double crochet in the next 2, and then 2 double crochets in the next. And this is the way this row will work all the way around. And you'll notice it's starting to flare out. And when we get back around here, we'll join to the top of our chain 3. So I completed this row of doing 2 individual double crochets and then 2 together all the way around. I'm going to join to the top of that chain 3, and then I'm going to place 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around, and we're going to do this for 2 rows. So 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, join to the chain 3, and then repeat for 2 more rows. 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, join to the top of the chain 3 and chain 3, and repeat. Well, I completed both of those rows, so now we have 3 rows of the purple, and I'm going to join to the top of that chain 3, and I'm going to cut my yarn. This last row is slip stitches. So we're going to join our white yarn back in. I'm going to snug my purple down. And I like to do the slip stitches on the last row on the edge of the brim of the hat, because it just gives it a little bit of a stiffness to help it stay in the right shape. So we'll go right in that first stitch, pull up a loop, and pull that loop through the loop on our hook. And we'll do this all the way around on the edge of this hat. And I like to stitch this row a little bit snugger than I usually do. I'm typically a looser crocheter, and I tend to have to go up, down, I mean a hook size on a lot of other patterns because I do stitch a little bit loose. Now on this row of slip stitches, I want you to stitch just a little bit tighter than you usually do. And like I said, that's going to help that brim hold its shape and give it just a little bit of stiffness, because we want this to stick out a little to keep the sun out of our eyes. And so this is the way we're working the last row. And I also think it adds a nice little braided touch to the edge of the hat. So this is our last row. And we'll work this all the way around. And of course, join back to our first stitch. And then we'll tie off and weave in our ends. All right, so I did that row all the way around, and I'm going to cut my white yarn. And the way that I like to tie this off is I like to go up in that last stitch from the back. I can get my big old fat hook in there. There we go. And grab that loop and just pull it through. And that just gives it a little bit better look on the front. And then we'll snug that down, and it just looks smoother to me. Now we do need to do a little weaving in back here. And what I do is I just thread that onto my needle, and I'll just make some whip stitches and then try to stay within the color of yarn that I'm using. There we go, and we'll just clip that off. And that's one of the really neat things about trailing your yarn on the inside of your hat. You don't have as many yarns that you have to weave in. Here's this other white one on this end. Again, I'll thread it through. And if I'm in that same color, I might go over that string just to help it stay put, but you don't really have to. Just make sure that you go through stitches and the fibers of the yarn and then clip off your end. I still have this other one to weave in, but that's the way that our hat works. Isn't it adorable? I just love how it turned out. So after I've weaved in all the ends, the last thing I need to do is just make that little bow if I want it. So I'll just make a slip knot there and chain about 20-25 chains. And this is just to make a little bow if you want the bow on there. You don't have to. You can add big flowers. You can even add artificial flowers or whatever you want to put on your hat. All right, so here's my chain. Snug that down. I'm going to put a little tie on this end to keep that from undoing. And clip that off. And the same thing on this end. I'm just going to tie it. Make sure it's on there nice and snug. There we go. And we're just going to take this and go through one of the stitches and pull it through and just tie a little bow. You can make the bow longer, you can make it smaller, you can add buttons, you can do whatever you want for your hat. It doesn't matter. It's your hat. Design it how you like it. So this is the purple and white one that we did with the Charisma yarn. And of course, here's the original that we did with the Strata yarn. And like I said, you can use 2 strands of worsted weight 4. You can use 2 strands of cotton or any chunky number 5 yarn that you have on hand. It makes a great sun hat. And remember, you can also adjust the size by going down a hook size or 2. So that's my Strata sun hat.